Hi, I'm Penny Dick's AstroCoach, and welcome to tonight's full pink moon in Scorpio, and it's a super moon. And I have Super Puss here, and I have to just tell you a little bit about Minky first of all, because Minky had extensive surgery yesterday on his mouth, and it is quite interesting because it does link in with the full moon, because what happened was all his teeth had gone rotten. He was a street cat and all his teeth had gone rotten, and the vet decided they all had to come out, fangs and all. So last night he was a bit sorry for himself, but today he's back to his bouncy self, and he hopefully won't have any more stinky breath, so I won't be able to call him Stinky, maybe Gummy, but he's just a little sweetie. And so Astropus, aka Genghis, is now Gummy Minky, aka Khan. Anyway, there is a relevance to this. There is a reason for me talking about his teeth. Interestingly, I had to go to the dentist today because I had a cracked tooth. Now, I mention this because the planet Saturn is very active at the moment and part of this particular full moon. So let me explain a little bit about the energies that we may already have been experiencing with this full moon. First of all, the moon is in Scorpio. Scorpio is very much about deep inner emotions. It's about psychological transformation. It's about dark night of the soul. It's a difficult placement for a full moon. And the sun, of course, is in Taurus, which is the opposite sign to Scorpio. And that's fine. And the sun is the soul. The sun is life. The sun is health. The sun radiates light. So what's interesting is the sun is conjunct in Taurus, Uranus, our planet of the unexpected, surprise, shock, quite explosive kind of news. We've also got, if I just look at my chart here, we've got Venus and Mercury in Taurus as well. And basically the Sun, Uranus, Venus and Mercury are all conjunct. That means they're all tightly bunched together. So try and think about this energy. We've got the Sun, life, light, health. Uranus, we're never quite sure what's going to happen next. Venus, which can be about love, relationship, but also about value. So could that be how we value ourselves? Mercury, communication, and they're all in this very fixed sign of Taurus. Now, when a sign is fixed, it means it's quite difficult. If you know any Taurians, they can be stubborn. So that gives you an idea of what fixed energy is about. It's difficult to move somebody who has a lot of fixed energy in their chart. And basically, the dominant energy for this full moon is fixed, because we have 5 planets in Earth, and we have 3 in water, 2 in air, and 1 in fire. So because Saturn and Jupiter are in Aquarius, and they're part of this full moon lunation as well, that also, Aquarius is a fixed sign. Now, Uranus rules Aquarius. So Uranus is a planet that is fixed, but that doesn't really describe the energy of Uranus, because Uranus turns things upside down. Uranus shocks us. It pushes us into change. So that brings me on to what this full moon is about. Oh, Minky's going to settle himself down there. Okay, so Scorpio, as I said, is about the inner you. It's about going deep down into our inner self. The rulers of Scorpio are Mars, was the traditional original ruler of Scorpio, and Pluto. Now, Mars, of course, as we know, is quite action-oriented and energetic, whereas Pluto really wants to transform. It wants to help you also transition, and that can be from one state of being to another. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Mars, and I'm not forgetting about Saturn and teeth, because Saturn and teeth are linked, and I'm going to come back to that. But Mars is in Cancer, but Mars is making a very nice angle to Jupiter that's in Aquarius. So Jupiter is kind of lifting the energy here of Mars being in a water sign, Cancer. Now, Mars doesn't like it there. It's too unpredictable for him. He doesn't know which way he's going to go, and he's probably swimming against the flow, swimming against the tide. Maybe you've noticed over the last, say, few days that maybe things you're doing, that it's like you're walking upstream, you're walking up against the flow of the river. So that may be energies that you're experiencing. Now, let me go on to Saturn here, because I want to bring in the teeth. Minky's teeth, my teeth, maybe your teeth. Saturn rules the skeleton. It also rules teeth. So the fact that Saturn is making a hard aspect to this full moon, it's a square. So that means it's like this, it's really tense. And it's also Saturn doing the same to Uranus, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury. Because a full moon is about transition, ending, completion, for Minky, sitting here next to me, he's lost all his teeth. And that might seem like a bad thing, but ultimately it's probably saved his life. The vet was explaining to me that their saliva, when they've got gingivitis, gets toxic. And after too much time of that, it infects all the internal organs and can actually bring about their death. So for Minky, he may not have been very fond of me yesterday when I marched him off to the vet and, put him through this ordeal. But I've probably given him, hopefully, if the cat goddess will permit, a few more years. So my teeth, I think that's for me my full moon experience. I had a chipped tooth. It turns out it's a crown, and that's got to change. It's got to go. So what I'm saying really about full moon energy is that sometimes we think it's going to be so dramatic, because us astrologers come on and we go, wow, the energy is just extraordinary, and this is happening and that's happening. And we think, oh my God, what's going to happen? It's all going to be awful. But actually, it can be quite mundane things that actually happen. There can be bigger and more serious things. And that's, it depends what is going on in your own chart as to what you can expect with that. But I know for me, my full moon experience is probably the fact that I've got to have a new crown. Okay, so that aside, we have to look at what Saturn's doing still, because Saturn is still moving forward. And the angle between Saturn and Uranus, it's like, when you pull a bow and it gets more and more taut until you let go and off it goes. So Saturn is moving to this position where he is actually going to go retrograde. So it's like he's gone far enough away on his piece of elastic band or his piece of thread on his bow, and he's got to move backwards. So what we may experience, highlighted by this full moon, is a slowing down. Now, that's not what we want to hear, because we actually want things to open up and speed up. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but we may find that we have to pay more attention to what's happening to us on an inner personal level, because that brings me back to talking about this full moon as a very transformational full moon. This is an opportunity to really dig down deep. So, how have you been over the last few days or week? How have you been feeling? What events have been going on in your life? Even if they're small things, what are they showing you on some inner level? Maybe it's a habit, a behavior. It may be a situation that no longer serves us, that we have to finally realize we need to let go of and move forward. And that can be the same with habits. We have to let go of certain habits because they don't serve us. They don't serve our greater good. So have a think about what's been going on in your psyche over the last week. And that might tell you a lot about what this full moon is about. It is about letting go. And because Scorpio is a sign of transition, and Pluto that rules it is a planet that represents transition. It's life and death, it's birth, it's rebirth. So some of us may have experienced some kind of loss of a relationship, loss of a friend. There could be many ways that can be interpreted. My fear yesterday with Minky in vet hospital was that because he's an old boy, maybe I was making the wrong decision and he wouldn't survive the surgery and I'd lose him. But here he is, and it looks like I made the right call. So there's a lot in this full moon basically about this inner transformation. And coming back to Saturn again, Saturn is a planet about timing. And this brings me back to something I like talking about a lot, which is about us allowing the divine to work through us, allowing the divine to guide us rather than my way. And I use the word divine as a loose term for the all of the all, because I don't want to be denominational or particularly on one particular spiritual path or religious path. I feel that's very personal, and so I use that term loosely as my way to illustrate what the divine mind says for me. So this energy can exhaust us. So you may have felt very tired. You may have been feeling like you're walking through treacle. It's a bit like if you think of Mars, because we've got Mars in Cancer, who's desperately trying to swim and get out of Cancer. And it's just taking him quite a time. I've got cat hair all over me. lots of minky fluff. But it's we may have felt, as I say, we're swimming upstream. Now, Jupiter, our planet of truth and opportunity, is making this lovely aspect to Mars. And I feel that because Mars is in Cancer, this is something about the maternal feminine. And the maternal feminine has to express her sense of loss to be able to move forward. This last 18 months, in many ways, represents a huge loss of many, many things for many, many people. And it's our job as human beings to find a way to use these experiences in a way that transform us, that don't hold us back, that don't keep us, excuse me, I'm just going to have some water, that don't keep us locked in old ways or in our mind. We have to get out of the way of that. And Mercury in Taurus at the moment, conjunct Jupiter. And Jupiter, as I'm saying, is about, can be about our self-worth, how we see ourselves, how we want others to see us. And Mercury is showing that if we are able to communicate how we feel to another, because sometimes it's not that easy to show ourselves raw and neat, and because it puts us in a very vulnerable state if we actually say how we're truly feeling to another. And many people, and the British culturally as a nation, find it very difficult to cope with people that are going through loss. I saw something on a news program this morning where they were talking about this, and that you'd say, well, hi, you meet someone in the street, hi, well, how are you? Well, actually, I've just lost my partner. Oh, I'm sorry about that. God, this weather's a bit, chilly. They cannot, or we cannot, or the collective find it hard, the cat fur, the collective find it hard to talk about death, to talk about transition, to talk about transformation. So in whatever way this full moon is working for you, it's really asking you to go right down to the very depths of your soul and find that alchemical gold that is in the muddy waters of the sort of plutonic, scorpionic waters, and that gold transforms you. It's your authentic self. So finding your authentic self is a real treasure, and this full moon offers you that opportunity. Right, I'm now going to move on to the individual zodiac signs, if I can get rid of Minky's fluff. Minky, you covered me in fluff. He doesn't care. Oh, no, he's showing me his tummy now. So, I just want to say that this moon is called a pink moon. And I find that interesting because there is absolutely nothing pink and fluffy about this particular moon. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just that it's pushing us. It's pushing us to change. And so I thought, well, I better honour the fact that it is called a pink moon by wearing pink. So I'm wearing pink. But now let's move on to your signs. And remember, if you do know what your ascendant is, then listen to that one too. And sometimes you might want to just make a note about the areas of your life that are affected by this particular full moon. So for you, Aries, okay, well, this is very much about your self-worth, Aries. And it's about not being afraid to show others what you're capable of. Aries don't often hide their light under a bushel, but there may be something that you're desperate to initiate. And as I said, it's about timing. Remember, Saturn is about timing. And if you're planning to launch anything, then be mindful of that. Do it in the sort of, as I say, the divine's time, divine timing, not your timing. I hope that makes sense for you, Aries. Taurus. So Taurus is fixed. So I'll tell you, Aries is cardinal, Taurus is fixed. Now for you, Taurus, this is in the part of your chart connected with your significant personal relationships. This can be a close partnership, a husband, wife, soulmate, boyfriend, partner. It can also be business partners, but it can also be the house of enemies, which is quite interesting because that seems quite an interesting kind of opposite, and interesting that it's in the sign of Scorpio. So this moon might see you making decisions around close personal relationships. It could see something coming to a kind of a head. But I want you to stand back, Taurus, and see the bigger picture, because Taurus, when pushed, can be like the proverbial bull in the china shop. And this is not a time to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So even though you may be feeling perhaps wound up by the actions of others that you are close to, then just cool it, breathe, be mindful and breathe. And also remember that if some of your sort of nearest and dearest are a little bit distant from you at the moment, it doesn't mean they don't care. It's just they're caught up in their lives and trying to make sense of everything too. So just give people a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, Taurus. Gemini. So Gemini is a mutable sign, which means it's quite flexible. It moves. So for you, Gemini, so it feels like there's a reluctance to sort out and finalize outstanding routine issues, your sort of day-to-day issues. But, you know, getting these things sorted, Gemini, you'll really be glad you did. And also I'd like to say, Gemini, if there are any outstanding medical appointments, anything going on in you physically that you think, oh, I'm not going to bother about that. No, do bother about it, because this moon is actually giving you an opportunity to address it and face it and get it sorted. And it's a bit like me going to the dentist today. You know, what's he going to do to me? So also the other thing I wanted to say, because we are in Taurus season, especially for you, Gemini, get back in touch with the earth. Put your feet on the ground. Feel bare feet. Feel the earth or the grass under the soles of your feet. It'll connect you, Gemini. Cancer. For you. Now, Cancer is a cardinal sign. And cardinal signs are very directive. They initiate. And I always think it's interesting with Cancer, because Cancer kind of is quite closed and it sits back and observes a lot. But actually, once it wants to get going, it goes. So for you, Cancer, it's actually, you're obviously going to be feeling very initiating about a creative project. And I think you've got a creative kind of abundance of ideas that are going to spring forth for you to put the finishing details on something that you've been working on. So that feels quite exciting for you, Cancer. Leo. Okay, so Leo is fixed. And again, this is quite interesting, isn't it? Because Leo, if we think of Leo the lion, roaring, you know, he's this king of the jungle. But, you know, actually, if you think about cats in general, they're fixed, they're stubborn, they don't do what they're told to do. And if you know any Leos, do they do what you tell them to do? Possibly not. So for you, Leo, it's in the area of your chart connected with your family and home life. And sometimes it feels like you've got a bit of sort of itchy feet, and sometimes it's good to just clear out clutter. So it might be a time for doing that, Leo. that can shift the energy and make you feel a lot better. And you might find, excuse me, there may be changes within the family structure. Maybe somebody that's been staying with you through quarantine is now going to move out or back to where they live, or there could be all sorts of changes going on like that. And it's going to cause some disruption, but I think you'll make sure they know who's boss, Leo. Virgo. Virgo is another mutable sign. So Virgo sometimes is not very good at making its mind up. So any of you Virgos out there, you probably do, but you just take your time. So for you, this is in the area of your chart to do with communication, to do with letters, contracts, anything. If you've got any outstanding bills, if there's something that you haven't, you know, sometimes we have forms we have to fill in, or we have to apply for, you know, renewal of insurance. Don't let that go, because it might not serve you well if you don't get that in by the date it needs to be done. I think that's what this moon is saying to me for you. So Libra. Libra is another cardinal sign. Now, that's interesting again, because Libra on the surface seem very balanced and fair, but actually they're pretty determined, and when they want to go, they go. So for you, Libra, this is about finance for you, but I think it's also about how you value yourself. So Libra, I just want to ask you, how do you value yourself? How's your self-esteem? Because with these planetary energies, it would be a really good time to look at what you've gained in terms of personal insight over the last few months. And, you know, to look at how you've coped with the incarceration that we've all endured, and to see what you've achieved as well. So something for you to think about. Now, Scorpio is fixed. But I certainly wouldn't argue with a Scorpion, would you? I did have one once in the place I was living before. It was an old farmhouse, and I came into the bedroom one night and there was a Scorpion on the floor. Scared the life out of me. And not only that, the cat decided, not Minky, because I didn't have Minky then, but the cat decided he wanted to play with it. And I was not very happy. What I managed to do was glass over Scorpion, paper underneath, and I threw him out the window. And I don't know what happened to him then, which is not a good thing either, because I didn't know whether he might have a family back up in my bedroom. So, but anyway, I'm here. So, so Scorpio, yes, a fixed sign, deep dark Scorpio. This moon is about you. And this is about how you feel about you, how you value you as well, and how you want others to see you. You might find that other people in your life, nearest and dearest, are acting quite uncharacteristically at the moment. And so there is a potential that there could be tension, crosswords, but, you know, talk it out. Mercury's there. Mercury's conjunct Venus. So talk it through, and that will actually smooth the ground and things will improve. So now let's move on to Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is another cardinal. Yes, it's a cardinal sign. I suddenly think, have I? Yes, I've got it right. Yes, cardinal sign. And so Sagittarius is quite, hey, let's go. You know, Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So Jupiter is like, woohoo, let's have fun. Let's, you know, opportunities, luck, let's play. And so Sagittarius just wants to get out there and have fun. And But for you, this full moon is actually in the part of your chart which is very much about the inner you. It's about you being reflective. So you may find that Saturn has slowed you down a bit in the last week or so, and that may be ongoing. And just trust the timing of that, Sagittarius, because, you know, it may be your health has slowed you down, but see it as timely. And because I think if we trust these divine interventions, they actually really serve us well in the long term. So I think it'll actually help you see some inner truths for yourself. It's really going to help you grow if you work with this moon, Sagittarius. Okay, Capricorn. Now, Capricorn is another cardinal sign. And Capricorn, again, is quite a stubborn sign, because Capricorns do like to get to the top of that mountain, but they probably are more able to achieve than some of the more fixed signs like Taurus. So for you, Capricorn, this is in the area of your chart connected with your hopes, dreams and wishes. And I think there's going to be some unexpected developments on projects that you're working on, or something you've got an idea about, and it might just fall into place due to timing, due to Saturn's timing, which might start out looking as if it's not a good thing, but will in the long term turn out to be absolutely what you needed. And the other thing that I sensed about this moon was that there might be some interesting developments in your love life. How fun is that? Okay, so now let's move on to Aquarius. Aquarius is fixed. So think of Aquarians. They can be quite distant, quite remote, and they, in a sense, they're quite self-possessed, and they keep things to themselves. And they can tend to think that they are, you know, part of some higher energy. We're all part of a higher energy, I hasten to add. We all have that connection. For you, it's about your career. And it's time for you, I feel, with this moon to reassess your direction, how to move forward. And that you've got to bear in mind that there may be family restrictions that you're going to have to adapt to over the coming months. But as I said before, see any delays as timely, because the divine is just keeping you on track. Now we come to Pisces, and Pisces is mutable. So if you think of the two fishes, they're swimming in opposite directions, or round and round each other, two goldfish in a bowl. Okay, so for you, it's in the area of your chart where you want to travel. You just want to get the hell out. You want to move, whether it's just in your mind, whether it's physically, and you want to increase your knowledge. And I think that if you've had any psychological inner struggles that you've been really working with, they're going to finally bear fruit. You'll be really glad to hear. And I think this is a time of huge transformation for you, Pisces. It's about letting go. There are areas of your life that you've got to let go of. They do not belong to you now. It is time for you to move forward. That is what I feel this moon is saying for you. So, all in all, a powerful full moon. At this point, I'd like to say thank you so much for coming to join me for this live stream for the full moon in Scorpio. And I'd also like to say thank you to Gith Magazine, Gozo in the House, for hosting the full moon. Our next full moon will be at the end of May. And because we're at the end of April, where is the time going? I'm going to be doing a new moon for the Taurus new moon in May. I'm going to do that a few days earlier so that we actually have time to process the energy and work with that new moon energy. So I'm doing that Thursday week. So I think that's about the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. It's about the 6th. So Thursday the 6th, but the new moon is actually on the 11th. And also, if you'd like to check out your May astrology, it's up on my YouTube channel now. And if you would like a one-to-one astro coaching session with me, please check out my website. And thank you so much for coming. I look forward to seeing you next time. And have a great evening and a great month until the next full moon. Bye for now.